Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Mandatory vaccinations move to the NBA. Get the shots or pay up in fines. But the fight turns to freedoms granted in the U.S. and if professional players are not awarded those same freedoms. Joining us now, lawyer and sports agent with DLE Agency and founder of the PR firm Achilles. We have Doug Eldridge. Doug, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, we start talking about it. A lot of people say, all right, sports, why are we getting politics in there? Why is this an issue? Well, politics have been in sports now for quite some time. This is just another issue, and it's really a catalyst for how the rest of the society is functioning here on this one. We've got Orlando Magic Jonathan Isaac, who says, it's my freedoms are being invaded here and taken away. Do you agree?
Well, first of all, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is not a sports issue. This is a national issue that, once again, we're seeing told through the lens of sports. What we're really talking about is the gradual frog in boiling water concept, the temperature slowly being turned up. And what I'm talking about is the underlying premise of an employer-mandated vaccine, right? If you look at the 3 stages of sports thus far over the last 50 days, the NFL started not with an official policy or prescribed fines for lack of vaccine, but there was a noticeable drop-off in free agents who hadn't had the vaccine not being signed to teams. Second came the NBA, which also didn't mandate a vaccine. However, there's a pseudo-quarantine in place for home games, and there's going to be a 1 out of 91 ratio fine. There's an 82-game season for any game that a player is unable to play at home or on the road because of their vaccine status. Right. And then the third, in the context of that turning up temperature, is the USOC, the U.S. Olympic Committee, which is mandating the vaccine for Olympic hopefuls by November 1st to be able to train in the facility, and anybody that makes the team for Beijing 2022 in February has to have the vaccine. So the temperature is absolutely being turned up.
What Isaac is saying, though, he says we live in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we have the opportunity and platform to say what is what we feel and what is right. I'm taking that right to do so, not just for me, for those people who feel like they don't have a voice here. He also said he's not opposed to vaccines. He's not opposed to that at all. He just is opposed to the way that's been enforced on him.
Well, it's hard to have an objective conversation in a polarizing, subjective topic. And in that regard, silencing isn't science. In fact, I would argue it's antithetical to the doubt and question and test premise that is the foundation of science as a whole. And from a public relations standpoint, which that's really what this boils down to, the messaging of this rollout has been so inherently flawed that it's broken down before it even got to the starting line. From a PR standpoint, you're absolutely crippling. You're not convincing, you're crippling the ability to convince those who are skeptical by trying to silence blue check influencers. At what point was it illegal or ill-advised to simply say, hey, I have doubts or I have hesitancy, right? We saw it with Jonathan. We saw it with somebody like Sage Steele, one of the most articulate and elegant people across the entire media landscape, who said, I got the shot, but I regretted it. I had hesitancy, and she's getting some ineffective and indirect punishment as a result. Blowback, you saw it with Rihanna, who simply said, I haven't made a decision. I'm doing the research. I encourage you to do the same. And in the meantime, everybody be safe and take care of yourself. And it was a scathing flamethrower of criticism. So it doesn't matter whether you're quote unquote pro-vax or anti-vax, which is such an inaccurate and reductive way to look at the situation. It's when did it become un-American or unscientific to ask questions? That's the very basis of science, Rodgers, the very basis. And so I think that really creates a schism in broader society. And that's why I said from the jump, this isn't a sports issue. This is a national conversation that, once again, is playing out across the sports landscape.
Doug Eldridge, he's got the PR firm Achilles, and he's also a sports agent with DLE Agency. Thank you so much for your expertise here.
Thanks for having me, Tom.